A Karen irresponsibly pushes her non-swimming son into the deepest pool, nearly causing him to drown. When I save him and confront her, she dismisses her actions, demands I get fired, and shows no concern for her child's well-being. Here's what happened next. I used to be a swimming teacher, got the job very young by accident because I've always been the sport type. Next to my house there is a very famous Olympic pool, in which they teach swimming and train Olympic swimmers from a very young age. So I went there with no expectations at all, and the next thing I knew I was working at 15. Needless to say I was the youngest there, and if it wasn't for the shirt that literally said that I was a trainer, no one would have ever noticed me there. My job there was to take care of and teach babies how to swim, from age 3 to 5, about 20 kids per class, from Thursday to Friday, from 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. So the kids and the parents knew who I was when the class was over, and the rules about the pool, which included two very important things that I reminded the kids every single day. Do not go near the pool if your teacher isn't around. Do not go into the pool if you don't have a floppy. I don't really know what they're called. We just called it that way for years for some reason. But it was those pool noodles that were old enough to be bent, and we tied them around the children's chest, so it basically worked as a lifesaver. Also, you need to know that we have 3 pools, each one deeper than the others. My class took place in the medium deep one, and the kids weren't allowed another pool that wasn't the one where they had class. The parents also knew this. So here's the story. As a babies teacher, or actually any kid below 12 years old teacher, we weren't allowed to leave the kids alone or send them away if their parents weren't there. This resulted in us waiting an extra 15 to 20 minutes for parents after our shift was done, which wasn't really that bad. And when we had to wait more than that, the parents had already called and we just changed our clothes, the kids' clothes, and waited with the kid outside. In this story, this was not the case. I still had a 4-year-old boy under my care. It was 40 minutes past my shift. We were both wet, cold, and tired because we couldn't sit anywhere. I ended up wrapping the boy in a towel another parent gave me because the kid was trembling so much, and I actually held the boy in my arms when he couldn't bear it anymore. I swear that kid was about to faint from the cold, and I was already mentally preparing my first aid skills and a no-shame barrier to run to the nearest hospital in my swimsuit. 50 minutes, an hour. It was getting darker, and the cold air began to strike us. Finally, the mother appears. Doesn't even look at her child. Doesn't even look at me. Says, "Let's go," and starts to walk away as I'm holding his barely alive son in my arms, not even looking back to see if he's following. I had to take the other towel away since it wasn't his, and I clearly didn't trust his mother. I planned to return it myself the next day. Put the kid down, said goodbye, watch him walk a few steps, and turn around to rush to the lockers because now I was freezing cold. I was furious, but couldn't do or say anything. I guess the mother had told my bosses that maybe she had an emergency of some sort, and was still sorting it through the phone. I got to the locker, fully changed into clothes that weren't pool-like, went from swimsuit and Crocs to jeans, hoodie, socks, and Converse, chilled in the locker room for another 20 minutes browsing WhatsApp groups, packed my stuff in my backpack and walked outside, closing behind me since I was obviously the last one. At this point, it was around 7:20 p.m., there was barely sunlight, and it was time for Olympic swimmers to train, and they really don't care for anything that's happening around them. So I just start walking my way out of the pool area, ignoring almost everything around me. For clarification, the pool area is for swimmers and teachers/trainers only, no parents nor unsupervised children. This also means that if they don't have class, they can't be there. Allowed. It's close to the public, and the only way you can watch what's going on inside is by walking away from the building, going up some faraway stairs to get to the seats area, where parents normally wait and watch the swimming class. The closest you can get to the pool in this area is by reaching into a sort of balcony with metal barriers, and they still are about 8 meters higher than the actual ground level where the pool is. I heard screams. It's hard to notice them at first because there's so much noise around between the water, the chit-chats, and the trainers screaming, but the screams get louder, and as I'm awkwardly passing by the deepest pool there is, I notice the same mother from before, kneeling in front of the water, holding her cell phone with one hand and just kind of flopping her other hand into the water. I follow her gaze and immediately drop my backpack and dive into the pool, where her kid is almost 10 feet down into the water. This boy didn't drown because of me. People were screaming because they noticed this from the seats area. Someone had rushed to my boss's office and they had called the pool paramedic. Other people were still trying to get someone's attention so they could help, and my 3 bosses, one of my coworkers, another trainer, and the paramedic, showed up at the exact moment I'm getting this boy out of the pool and starting CPR to get the water out of his lungs. The mother just awkwardly stands there, lurks to the back of everything in silence, and stands there. The kid is okay, they are wrapping him in towels and telling him everything's okay. People is still wondering what happened and asking around. I take a moment to process everything and I notice the mom in the back staring at her phone. I snap. Cue the drama. The dialogue wasn't exactly like this since this happened about 3 years ago, but I still remember some of it. I'm totally drenched in water as a totally angry teenager. What the fuck? Why was your not able to swim son in the deepest pool we have, unsupervised? He was not unsupervised. I was watching him. He almost drowned. Yeah, well that's not my fault. I pay the school to teach him how to swim, and I just wanted to record him swimming to show his daddy. He does it very well, do you want to see? She then shows me her phone, with an actual recording of she telling her son to go into the water to show daddy how you look like a fish in the water. The boy repeating the exact words I told them every day about not going into the water without a floppy or a teacher nearby. The EM telling him it's okay because she's there. The boy saying he's scared and then the mother literally pushing this kid. Record him struggling for a while, awing as how he was able to hardly float around for some minutes, and when he gets tired of moving his little arm and legs around to keep his head out of the water and trying to get to the edge, his mother pushes him away of the edge and he immediately sinks, and the video still lasts about 20 more seconds where the mother is just filming the kid sinking and she just saying stuff like, "Look at me, daddy," just like a little shark. I noticed he wasn't coming up, so I tried to grab his hand, but he was way down. Thank God you appeared at the right time. I was just shocked at what she said. She then tells me, I should probably start swimming classes too since I do not know how to swim. Do you know a good school? I give her a death stare. At this point, I'm done with this woman. Do you even care about your son? This is the second time he's almost died under your supervision when you showed up an hour late after class was over and didn't even apologize to me nor explained why you're late. I would really appreciate if his dad came for him after class because I swear I will never let this child go home with you. I paused to breathe. I realized something. Why do you even push him in the water? He's 4. You know he doesn't swim nor float, or at least you'd known if you had a minimum interest in his life. What the fuck? What the fuck? She whines. What do you mean? You are way too young to talk to me that way, you little brat. My son is my problem and not yours. I don't owe you anything. You don't have the right or the power to prevent me from doing whatever I want with my son, and I couldn't jump in because I'd get my clothes wet and I have to drive home. Also, I had my cell phone in my hands. I mutter a quiet "fuck you" and I walk away. I don't know what happened next to the Karen. I approached the kid again to say goodbye and to check if he was all right, grabbed my backpack. My boss jumped in to take care of the situation, and I started my 15-minute-long walk back to my house. Although by the time I got home, I'm sure most of the water had evaporated from the way I was fuming. My boss filled me in the next day and said the mother was actually at the seat area by the time class was over, and she got distracted with her phone the whole hour it took her to notice class was over and that she had to pick up the kid. That she complained that I had screamed at her, and after finding out I was the actual swimming teacher, she demanded I got fired. I was not. I actually got a raise. She threatened to sue the school because they had babies taking care of babies, and when confronted with the rule book about her breaking the rules and that she would be in trouble, not sure how law applies to that in my country, for being in the pool area out of hours and nearly drowning her own son, she immediately erased the video, said we had no proof, screamed some more at my boss, and walked away dragging her son with her. The kid never showed up to class again. Years later, and I'm still salty about this whole situation, coworkers told me that there was more to the story, but the bosses refused to say anything about what happened next with the mother. I did get a warning for how I talk to parents, but it was kinda like, just don't scream what the fuck at them. And I wasn't in any real problem since I didn't have my uniform on, so in the eyes of witnesses I was just a kid swearing at an entitled woman. OP left an edit. A lifeguard pointed out that I could have not had performed CPR, and they are right, I didn't perform CPR, but I wanted to clarify in the post that I'm not a native English speaker, and I lack the knowledge of the correct term for what I did. I just wrote CPR so people could understand and assume what happened more easily. But just in case anyone ever experiences this, if you save a person who is drowned and they probably have water in their lungs, do not perform CPR. First check if they're breathing. I mean, OP here is just a teenager, yet handled this situation like a true hero. This Karen, though, wow, she's one for the books. First, she shows up an hour late, leaving poor OP and her shivering kiddo waiting. That's bad, but then, get this, she literally pushes her non-swimming son into the deepest pool, just to record him for daddy. And the cherry on top, she's more worried about her phone getting wet than her son drowning. I'm floored, guys. Truly floored. What do you all think about this wild situation? Alright guys, Buckle up because this next story is a bit of a wild ride. So there's this racist Karen who wants another parent's child because her own kid is black. She loses it and starts throwing a fit after getting denied. She even tries kidnapping the poor child. Yeah, so here's what happened. So a few years ago, I was a student studying in childcare. Now as a part of my course, I am meant to 1 day a week work in a private nursery. For people who don't know what a nursery is, it's basically preschool for experience. So whilst I was there for a year, I became very close with the staff members and the children that was there. During the summer, a new child was enrolled into the nursery. The little girl, we will call her Mary, because her favorite song was Mary Has a Little Lamb. Now Mary is an adorable little girl who likes to jump around and give everyone hugs and kisses. A ball of fluff is what she is. Mary is a bit slightly chubby for a 3-year-old, but that's okay, no problem with a little bit of chub. But her mom thought otherwise. Her mom, whom we'll name Karen, is this tall white lady whom is American who moved to our country last year. Mary didn't look anything like Karen. Mary is a black child, but that isn't a problem to us since everyone's families comes in different sizes and shapes, but I had to point this out since it'll become important later. Karen was well known in the nursery for looking like a, excuse my choice of words, a hoe, and for her lovely personality. She would show up with a flush red face, a tight, slim, skinny dress that shows of either her cleavage or ass, and caked in excessive amount of makeup. A lot of us thought she was always tipsy whenever she came to do pick up Mary, but since she always goes around in a Uber, that's right, even if it's somewhere down her road she'll call for an Uber, so luckily she isn't drunk driving. Now, this isn't a big deal since we're used to people like her until the summer trip starts coming around the corner. It was a trip to a big theme park in my country. Everyone was buzzed, especially the staff members, since this is basically a free trip for them since the nursery is paying for it. The children will be with their parents or guardians, so we didn't have to take care of them and just go wild with alcohol and the rides. On the day of the trip, Karen came along as usual in a tight dress, high heels, pungent perfume, and excessive amount of makeup. She looks like she's dressed for some sort of formal party, whilst the other parents are dressed in casual clothing preparing themselves for war. Remember, us staff members don't have to look after the kids on this trip, and it's the parents' and guardians' responsibility to do so. Before we left off for our trip, Karen noticed one of the children, a beautiful toddler whom I'll name Anna with blonde pigtails and bright blue eyes. Karen walked up to her mother whom she held hands with and said something quite disturbing to the point Anna's mother requested to us staff to help keep a distance from her. The exchange went as followed. Karen, that's a cute girl. Aw, thank you, she's our pride and joy. She has such beautiful crystal blue eyes and blonde hair. Her skin is so fair and pale. Yeah, she is beautiful. Anna's mom was a bit creeped out. Karen then says, I wish Mary looked like her. Aw, Mary is also a beautiful girl too. Karen scoffs. Yeah, right. If anything, I want a baby girl like yours. She looks closer at Anna and strokes her blonde hair. Anna's mother was creeped out by that and pulled Anna away from Karen before quickly heading to us for some help. With our help, we assigned Karen and Mary to sit at the very back of the bus whilst Anna's family sat in the front to keep some distance. Once we got to the theme park, everyone was let loose and the parents' guardians are in for a treat, whilst us staff and students went nuts on the rides and the alcohol basically just having a blast. Until it was nearing late afternoon, we were all getting hungry, so we walked over to the food court. There we saw an unpleasant sight. Karen was drinking some beer at one of the far back tables talking on her phone whilst Mary was asleep in her buggy. We looked at this scene with disgust and walked over. The exchange went as followed after Karen noticed us and put down the phone. Oh, hello there. Hello, Karen. Enjoying the trip? Oh, geez, I wish. It's been so boring, tiring. My feet aches from walking around and it's so bloody hot. She was wearing a tight black dress and tall black heels. Of course she's gonna get tired. I see. Did you two enjoy any of the rides? Yes. Mary enjoys the merry-go-ride more than anything. I want to note that there was no merry-go-round in the theme park. I seated myself along with 2 other staff members with Karen to get to know her and see if she was okay because I can tell she was kinda tipsy with her skin all flushed. We kept an eye out for her and just kept talking and drinking until finally things took a turn for the worst. She talked about things we couldn't believe. She said, you know, I never wanted a child, but my husband adopted Mary from one of his African trips because according to him, he felt like he had to, and he sees her as his own flesh and blood. She scoffs as she drinks more. The husband is a journalist who travels a lot, so I say, that's nice of him. I'm sure Mary will grow up to be a healthy, beautiful girl. Karen scoffs again. Yeah, beautiful my ass. Back in America, beautiful white girls are always the most popular ones in high school and, she mumbles something quietly. Huh? Pardon? Her skin is so black. I wonder, if there was a bruise would anyone be able to see it? I look over at the other 2 staff members with worry, but they nodded as they quickly rushed over to Mary to check if she was okay and see if there was any signs of abuse whilst I kept Karen occupied with idle talk. Luckily, Mary didn't have any signs of abuse, but since Karen was a bit tipsy and tired, one of the staff members took Karen back to the bus to rest, whilst the bus driver kept a close eye on her. We took Mary after getting a drunk consent from Karen and took her on children rides that she'll enjoy, like the elephant ride, the airplane, the baby roller coaster, and more. We still had our fun until it was time to gather back at the meeting point around the evening. We quickly informed the manager what we had heard and expressed our concern, and the manager took it into consideration. Once we got back, apparently the manager contacted Karen's husband and informed him of what was been said and how she's been treating Mary, and also to pick up Karen since she was tipsy. Not sure what the husband did after learning all of that. The very next week, Karen came into the nursery quite early, which was unusual to pick up Mary. Anna and her mother was passing by her in the hallway to go home when suddenly Karen grabbed Anna by the arm and screamed, "I want this child, give her to me! What the hell is wrong with you? Let go!" All the staff members quickly rushed over to the scene to pull Karen away. Anna was crying in pain and fear with her mother grabbing her away from Karen and hugged her protectively. "I deserve a beautiful white child, give her to me! She's mine! I want a beautiful baby girl!" We restrained her with 3 men holding her down. We quickly contacted the police and her husband. Everyone was informed to leave early that day, including the cleaners, especially since I was a student. I left early because of the ruckus, but some stayed back to give a witness statement. Afterwards, according to one of the staff members, Karen's husband argued like hell with Karen in the nursery's office and basically threatened to divorce her, which got Karen crying. Karen's husband took Mary with Karen basically hugging him by the leg, begging him not to leave her, and that she was sorry. For a month, instead of Karen picking up Mary, it was either Mary's nanny or the husband. According to one of the nosy staff members, the husband had divorced Karen and got a restraining order against her because apparently when the husband went to visit Karen in jail, she tried to attack him for prioritizing Mary over her, and Anna's mom also pressed charges against her and got a restraining order. I'm not sure what happened to Karen afterwards, but I hope she never has children of her own. Also, Mary is being well taken care of by her loving father, who treats her like a treasure regardless of skin color, and thinks she's a beautiful baby girl. A lot of the staff members had a crush on him after this incident, lol. I'm not sure if Mary was adopted before or after the father was in a relationship with Karen, but I knew that their relationship was only about 2 years and a bit. I'm pretty sure Karen was after the dad's money because he's fairly wealthy, not upper-class wealthy, but middle-class wealthy, and she often spent his money like water and used to brag about how much money she has thanks to her husband. I have to say, this story is crazy. I mean, this Karen woman sounds like a total mess, showing up to the nursery in tight dresses and caked in makeup, and then having the audacity to wish her daughter looked like another child. That's just messed up. And then on top of that, trying to kidnap the poor child Anna at the theme park? That's some next-level crazy. I don't know if this story is 100% real, but it definitely feels like it could be. I mean, people can be really messed up sometimes, and Karen sounds like she's got some major issues. Either way, I'm glad the staff were able to intervene and protect Anna. That's some crazy stuff right there. But you know what's crazier, or shall I say stupider? This video on screen right now where a Karen demands a free yacht ride by trying to pass as the yacht owner's friend. What she doesn't realize is that OP is the owner. Op decides to play on and humiliate Karen in front of her friends. But you know what's crazier? Or shall I say, humiliating? The video on screen right now where a Karen thinks she can demand a free yacht ride by pretending to be the owner's friend. Little does she know she's talking to the actual owner. And he decides to mess with her and humiliate her in front of her friends. Hilarious. My mom doesn't want my dad to go to jail for stealing from me. My dad stole money off of my debit card, and I found out that he has been receiving food stamps in my name. I also wanted to find out if he had been getting anything else in my name, as some people online suggested it to me. I wanted to make sure he didn't try to get money for me on his taxes. I was talking to my mom about everything, and it seemed like she kept trying to make excuses for my dad. Like, well, maybe he felt like you owed him, and I would never have my dad locked up no matter what happened. She said that it took her years to call the police on my dad, even though he used to beat her. I got upset and ended the conversation. My aunt had said she was most concerned with my dad using my social security number to get credit or other things in my name because my dad gets a disability check, and I guess people on disability aren't supposed to be able to file taxes or claim people on their taxes. But my mom called my aunt and told her that she and my dad had been taking turns claiming me on their taxes for years. She said she claimed me last year, so she was pretty sure my dad had claimed me this year. She said my dad could go to prison over this, and she didn't want him to go to prison for claiming his child on his taxes. My mom told me that what my dad did with the food stamps was wrong, but that I left my dad's house without giving him anything, so maybe this was just his way of trying to get something for letting me stay in his house. She said that I had been rebelling against her by not even trying to go to church and search within my soul to see if I'm really gay or not. She said, even if I am really gay, then how could it hurt to repent and go to church and try to be straight for her? She said she actually talked to my dad and he told her that I had been rebellious and disrespectful to him, and that is why he kept getting in my face and screaming at me and insulting me. She said that my dad had never been like that with me before, and I need to think about what I did to contribute to that, and take responsibility for my part in everything. And I needed to think about how my dad felt knowing that his little girl was not the person he thought she was. She said my dad was almost in tears when they talked, and he is just as hurt as me, and he feels bad about the food stamps and taking money off of my card, and that my dad is really a good person deep down, and if he didn't have a temper, she would still be with him. The only thing he ever did wrong when they were together was hit her, and that he has never and would never hit me or my brother or my sister. Then she said that if I didn't press charges against my dad, that she and my dad would pay me when they received their income tax refunds. She said if my issue is that he stole from me, then him paying me back should settle everything. And if I want him to go to jail, then I am just being vengeful. And I need to think about what it will do to my brother and sister if their dad is in prison. She said I need to think about if it's worth it to hurt my brother and sister just to hurt my dad. I cried while I was talking to my mom. I cried for a long time afterwards. I found out a lot, but especially two things. One is that even though my mom talked so much crap about my dad when they split up, it seems like my mom still loves my dad. Even after she knew that he had been yelling at me, scaring me, had threatened me and stolen from me, apparently she still talked to him and she sympathized with him. My mom would not let me live with her because I'm gay, but if she thought my dad would never hit her again, she would be with him. The other thing I know now is that my mom cares about my dad a lot more than she cares about me. It's weird because up until now, that probably wouldn't have bothered me, but I didn't expect her to have more sympathy for my dad than me after knowing that my dad has threatened me and stolen from me. I can't imagine never having anything to do with my mom again, but right now, I don't want anything to do with her. I don't know if that's fair or rational, but that's how I feel. I don't know what to do. I think my dad should go to jail for what he did, but I don't want to hurt my brother and my sister, and I know they would be hurt if my dad went to jail, and it would hurt more knowing that I am the one who put him in jail. My aunt pointed out that I worked most of last year so I could file taxes myself unless my dad did claim me this year. My mom said they would pay me, but for one thing, how can I trust that, and I don't know if I want money they're trying to give me, just because my dad doesn't want to get in trouble for wronging me. The other thing is, I already contacted the police about him stealing the money off of my card and he is already being investigated for receiving food stamps in my name. My mom doesn't think he's going to go to jail for that, but I lived with my dad for around a month as an adult. That was the first time I've lived with him since him and my mom were together when I was a kid, and he was getting food stamps in my name like he was me. So I don't know if my mom knows something I don't, but I think he's going to be in a lot of trouble for that. And I found out about that accidentally. So it's not like I woke up one day with a vendetta against my dad. And what if my dad tries to steal from my brother and sister like this? What if I'm protecting them? Am I wrong for wanting my dad to go to jail? Should I let everything go since my mom said she and my dad will pay me back? I'm not going to have anything to do with my dad no matter what, but should I keep trying to work on my relationship with my mom? I did finally let my aunt know how bad I think I need a therapist, and she said we will definitely make sure that happens, so that's a good thing. Am I wrong? Am I a bad person in this situation? What should I do? You have clearly been through a lot, and you're struggling to take it all in. I can see why you would want to punish your dad. It is hard to forgive someone who has hurt you so much as well as taken advantage of you. However, I do believe your mother is right here when she says it will hurt your brother and sister more than it satisfies you seeing him in prison. You should take them up on the deal of them paying you back, and also make it clear to them that if you catch your dad out just one more time, even for the most minor thing, you will take legal action and press charges. I really like the idea of seeking therapy. There is no shame in talking to a professional about what happened to you, and this could actually help you get through it.